Welcome to the second empathy session in this series. This was recorded November 2016. For context, please review the introduction to the series at some point to kind of give a framework of what's happening here. I am being facilitated in deep empathy by Gloria Lybecker. If you like what you see, her contact information is down below. This is extremely personal and unfiltered, so if watching raw emotions being processed is not accurate for you at this time, please do not watch. Just to briefly review the purpose of why am I sharing something so vulnerable and so personal. It is a part of my mission and my purpose to help dissolve the shame and embarrassment around the difficult feelings that we all experience and carry inside. And along with those difficult feelings often come harmful behaviors. We harm ourselves and/or we harm others. I want to show you what is inside of me so you can have permission to look inside and see what's inside of you, because we all have suffering inside to look at. You wouldn't know it by the advertisements of our culture and the way our culture promotes images of perfection, but nobody has that life. And deep inside, we know that. But we still all carry around the facade of perfection in order to kind of pretend. Now we want to drop the pretense. We want to drop our masks, and we want to get real with what's inside so we can become a real person. So we can be real. We can understand what is my authentic self-expression. What is my authentic way of showing up in the world? We don't know that as long as that authenticity is covered up by fear, shame, anger, and sadness. Not to mention cultural indoctrination. So, the other reason to show you my internal process is so that you can know what it's like to process through these difficult feelings in deep empathy. I don't want to show you how you should process or what you should experience, but I do want to help break the ice on this kind of internal looking, this kind of internal contacting of the emotional imprint so that it's less intimidating and you can see that a good outcome comes every time I go inside and can touch those difficult feelings and process through them. Something good happens in my life. A new level of clarity, of presence, of awakening happens. Now let's talk about the session. The neuroscience in this session is the polyvagal theory. This was a theory put forward by Stephen Porges, and if you Google polyvagal theory, you'll get a lot more information than you ever wanted to know about it. But the very brief summary of it is, Gloria will use the words dorsal vagal and ventral vagal. Dorsal vagal is the older part of this nervous system, and it is the slowest, and it governs the collapse freeze response. It's that response that when something overwhelming happens, we just shut down. And to preserve us, to save us actually. We think it might sound like a bummer, but actually it saves us. And the ventral vagal is another part of this nervous system that governs our social engagement, our facial expressions, and the ability to feel warmth and accompaniment. So we want to train the ventral vagal to know how to provide warm accompaniment to ourselves, and how that begins is having someone else accompany us and entrain that part of our nervous system to know what warm accompaniment is. There is no self-regulating circuit that we are aware of yet. We have a co-regulation circuit, which is the ventral vagal, and that needs to be attuned. Now in the session, if you watch, you'll see how I start and how I end. I start really grumpy and really disagreeable. Anytime I'm approaching emotional work, a part of me does not want to do it. So if you feel the same about doing emotional work or facing uncomfortable feelings, you're not alone. A part of me just does not want to do it. But by the end, you'll see I'm open and vibrant, and something has shifted inside of me at a very deep level. So to begin with, I revisit the self-sabotage and I set that up. I can't do the things I love. I don't have the energy, but I do have the energy for playing video games. Now, this happens in our life when we have a part of ourselves that is terrified to be ourselves, to show ourselves, to be seen. We may be terrified of that, so we pretend like we don't have the energy for it. Yet we have energy for distractions, for TV, for video games, for going out to clubs, for drinking, for whatever, in a pursuit to not feel the uncomfortable feelings when we have to rise to the occasion and be ourselves in the world. In these cases, we have to train our adult self to be able to hold the child when it's having trouble and not let the child dictate that we're going to go into distraction instead of going into purposeful, useful action. Let me say that again. It is the child part of ourselves that would have us move into distraction instead of purposeful, useful action. Action that it could interpret would endanger it because it will have that child be seen, be noticed, possibly be ridiculed, made wrong, and judged. So we need to learn how to hold that child in its fear, let that fear be integrated so that it stops making the decision for distraction and makes the decision for participation and action. So the bottom line is I'm terrified inside and frozen, and it shows up as being tired and being resistant. And by the way, speaking about that adult self holding the child self in the proper way so that it will integrate, I do mention about dominating my body, which is the improper way. When we want to affect change in our life, often we say, I need to work out, I need to work harder, I'm too lazy, I'm too complacent. And at some level, those might be true, but those are all symptoms of the parts of ourself that are frozen back in childhood that cannot participate with us in our life today. So before we know that, we make up stories about ourselves and we judge ourselves and we put ourselves down. And when we try to affect that change, we start to dominate our life. We dominate our body. We force ourselves to work harder, to work out harder, to diet hard, to date hard, to play hard, to work, all those things that we do that we're taught that, oh, you're just lazy, you're just tired, you need to work harder. But when we do that, we are taking the part of us that's unloved and neglected and unloving it and neglecting it even further. We're saying, I got no time for you. I got to get my life together. 3 days after filming this session, I ended up in the hospital with the worst migraine I ever had because I tried to dominate my body and I over-exercised. I have a shoulder injury that causes these muscles on my spine to be pulled, and I threw them way out of whack, and I woke up in partially paralyzed and not able to balance, and I couldn't walk. I missed work. Someone had to call the ambulance for me, and they had to come and pick me up and take me to the hospital. I had no idea what was happening, if I was having a stroke or whatever. So I paid the price for dominating my body, and that was a great message for me that, hey bud, you are out of harmony with your body, and you're trying to change your body without including all of you, and you're hurting yourself. Now, my body is much healthier partly because of these sessions, because I have learned to include that child self in my life, in my activities, not forcing that child to behave, but helping that child to unfreeze and to unfold so that it wants to participate. So now that was a side note. Back to the main theme. Gloria takes me back in time to a point when this child is experiencing this resistance. I'm in second grade. It's a Sunday, and I need to do a book report due Monday on the space shuttle. Just a page. I was told to stay in my room and not come out until the book report is done. Now, I am terrified and do not have the capacity to navigate this challenge. I make contact with this child, an initial contact, and I see that it's terrified and frozen inside. However, before I can continue on with this child, a deep resentment and anger and betrayal starts to arise inside of me. And that is the broken promises that I've experienced from the personal growth world. You probably know already, I have spent $50,000 on workshops, seminars, spiritual retreats, gurus, cults, anything you can name, crystals, incense, tarot cards. Everyone promises, and I did have great insights, great openings, great experiences, but this core issue of not having warm regard for myself and not being able to shine in the world never got touched, and no one could help me with that. I'm waiting for the next podcast, for the next YouTube. Somebody help me out. So how am I supposed to help this child if I can't even help myself? So I need to go through a mourning process of broken promises, basically. And I do go through this mourning process, because that's the gift of mourning, is it takes us from where we are at to where life actually is. And where life was at is I'm resentful and pissed about broken promises. Where life actually is no one can save us from ourselves. No one can do the intimacy journey within for us. No one can contact that emotional imprint and unfreeze the frozen child inside. It's up to us to do that for ourselves. So after the mourning, I can now return to the child. So we're back in the bedroom with the child. And as I'm sitting with this child, what I'm experiencing is that the child has no masculine accompaniment for this problem. No warmth, no skill about how to do things in the world. Skillful means is a masculine part. Whether you're a man or a woman, the masculine part of us is our skillful means of how to do things. So I have no confidence in my creativity and no expression in the world. And now remember, that creativity and expression is held back because I will not allow myself to shine and be noticed by the aggressive males in my life. So I sit with that child and just give that child warm accompaniment, which it's never had. It's never had anybody just sit and say, "Hey, I'm here for you. I'm right here for you. How's it going?" That helps the child to start to thaw out. The child starts to feel warmth, a little bit of love, a little bit of trust. So much so that I can, by the end of this internal conversation with this child, I can start to give the child a little bit of coaching about how to begin this book report. This connection with this child was pivotal for me and broke the ice on this frozen part of myself that has been very hard to approach. So by the end, this child is feeling, I'm sensing potential playfulness inside this child, which is amazing because when I first approached that child, and I have approached this child many times before, when I first approached this child, it is depressed, it is sad, and it is frozen inside. In the next episode, I meet my 4-year-old, which is a different version of this child, which is the hardest part to approach. Here, we're approaching just a fragment of that frozenness. We're not trying to take all of the frozenness on at once. And in the previous video, you saw me trying to take on all that frozenness at once, and it wanted nothing to do with that process. So here, it's an amazing breakthrough to feel that release, that integration, and that completion inside myself. And playfulness only comes out when a child feels safe. Now the child switches with me at the end, and I find out that I'm not there for the child anymore. The child is here for me. And this is what happens when we integrate the neglected and unloved parts of ourselves. They reveal their true nature and their contribution to our life when they become unfrozen and are allowed to open and to mature into what they really are, into a healthy, happy, balanced part of our being. This video represents how much care, skill, time, and warmth it takes to approach these parts of ourself that do not want to be approached, and you cannot force them. At I Trust My Life, all of our work is centered around getting better at feeling, getting better at navigating our interior so we can become emotionally agile, emotionally resilient, touch and impact those felt parts of ourself that are neglected and unloved, and ultimately become an emotionally integrated being. We have many different offerings that approach this from different angles. Please join us for an introductory class, see the work in action, get to know me better as a facilitator and a guide. I look forward to seeing you there. I hope this series is helping to break the ice around the difficult feelings that we have inside. I hope we're dismantling some shame, some embarrassment, and you can see that even though my life is different than yours, there is a commonality in our shared discomfort of our childhood and the difficult things that we had to deal with and the difficult arrangements and strategies we had to develop just to get through it. I hope this leads you to, when the time is right for you, to pursue some investigation on your own. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I was sharing with Miriam, I'm feeling a little crabby today. Because, there's times when I approach empathy or work that's going to open me emotionally, I'm sure, where I just don't want to. But I'm here and I'm ready to participate.
Yeah, so just really holding some space there for the part that feels a bit crabby, welcoming that part. And I'm also wanting to acknowledge the willingness to show up anyway and just let your crabby self be seen and welcomed.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. It's funny how I reveal my crabby self and I feel less crabby.
Isn't that just kind of amazing?
Yeah.
And so Rob, just inviting you to step in here to receive some support today, and just invite you to take a moment if you're willing and just maybe drop into your body and notice what you notice and what arises for you that you'd like to receive some support today.
I'm running away from myself pretty hard. And a little context for that is that there's been I've changed my working situation to where now I have a lot of extra time to work on my own personal projects. And that started this summer. And as with any change, there's an initial energy that seems to be extra that helps to make progress. And then that energy eventually kind of dies out, and I'm left with the same sabotage that I do to myself, that I have done as long as I can remember, of finding things to distract me from applying myself to what I love to do. And I'm needing some kind of, I don't know what I need. I mean, I've been doing personal growth for 20 years and the topics never change. But the empathy, what I'm needing is to have my adult self be able to handle the child self when it doesn't want to do the things that I love to do the most, which are to do talking stick circles, to do different kind of empathy work or feeling work. But there's this huge backlash about it that goes on. There's a lot of resistance to it. And so I find myself getting super, super numb, as I always have been. And so as I move forward into this direction, being sleepy or having energy for things, like I think, oh, I don't have the energy, but then I can play video games for 4 or 5 hours just fine. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so I know it, I've had some experience with, like, today I worked out. I mean, I lost a lot of weight. I used to be 260 pounds. And now I'm about 190 now, and I was about 185 a couple months ago, and now I'm back to 190, and really having to, as I was working out today, having tears of talking to my child and trying to include my child and have warmth for my child. But when I'm trying to accomplish a workout, I often just dominate my body. I just dominate myself to get through it because I hate doing it mostly. I don't actually hate it. Like Marilyn said, that once I'm into it, I can be into it, but getting started is tough. So it's relating to that part of me that's just super, super terrified to do what I love to do. There's a resistance there.
Yeah. But there's a witness that you have to both of these parts, that you're able to witness your adult self and his passion and what he just loves to sink into, and at the same time able to witness the little guy that just wants to run like hell and get away, and really has a lot of resistance and really needs to be heard around that resistance, and how your adult self really has a heart's desire to hold a space of warmth and care, and yet it's not really familiar how to navigate that. And so one thing I'd like to check in with is if there's a moment in time that comes to mind where your little guy goes into resistance that we might work with, just to take that one moment in time and slow it all down.
My earliest memory of that is being in second grade and having to write a one-page report on the space shuttle. Mm-hmm. And it was a Sunday, and I couldn't leave my room until I did it. And I didn't leave it took me, I stayed in resistance all afternoon. I mean, morning and afternoon for several hours. Finally, when I just sat down to do it, I did a page and a half, and it was really good, and it was easy. And I'm creative, and I'm intelligent, but you wouldn't know it for that first 4 or 5 hours of resistance. I'm just like numb and dumb, and that's
also, yeah.
And it's always been that way.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if you might be willing to do a little time traveling.
Sure,
and just
absolutely.
Okay. So taking a moment, and it might be helpful with eyes closed, eyes open are welcome to, whatever feels most supportive for you and for this little guy, most importantly. And allow him to be in that room. And here he is. He has to write a one-page report on the space shuttle, and he cannot leave his room until he does. And as you drop in to this little guy's experience right here, right now, notice through his eyes, what does he see? Paint the picture for us.
Let me pause that just for a moment, please. Because as I'm bringing
Sure.
myself back to that child, I'm just feeling this deep sadness of wanting an answer to this problem for years and years. And there's just a lot of sadness about it. There's just a lot of, I don't know what to do for this child. I don't know how,
Mm.
I've been promised help. I've joined cults. I've read books. I've been promised help with this situation and nobody delivers.
Yeah. So just acknowledging where's that sadness in your body right now?
It's up here right now.
Yeah. So kind of encompassing the whole, all around the head space, just that whole ventral vagal, just and the sensations as you just rest right there in that upper space of your chest and head area.
I'm
Just
not
acknowledging.
feeling like a heaviness, Gloria. I'm feeling like I'm mentioning it because it's interesting. Is that there by just saying that, like I've had that. I just have this deep sorrow of the promise of spiritual and personal growth and gurus, and there's just this heartbreak that needs to happen around it because I know it's up to me, and it's just this. Oh, it's not like a heaviness. It's not like a blockage. It's like, I just want to cry so I can breathe. So
Yeah.
it opens.
Yeah. So just acknowledging it's not heavy. There's just this wave, perhaps, of emotion that just needs to be seen and heard and felt as it just unfolds.
I need to say what I don't want to say because I keep holding out hope that the next podcast or the next YouTube video or something will happen to save me from myself.
Yeah.
It's just not coming.
Oh, so just acknowledging just how deep that sorrow is, that promise of support, that promise of a safe container where all will be well once more, and just so desiring for that hope to just miraculous be here right now, and just
Yeah.
acknowledging what it's like in the cells of your body as you just allow yourself to feel that sorrow.
Well, I think I'm going through a grieving process because now I feel this wave of anger. Like, you fucking people don't know anything. Nobody knows anything. Who really knows anything?
Yeah, yeah. So just pissed off, just angry, just making promises you can't keep. Is really needing to allow that anger to be heard because there's so many needs unmet in that moment. Really
Yes.
needing support you can count on. Oh, and what happens with that, Gus?
You are absolutely right. I need support that I can count on, and having sadness and anger move through me. I know that support that I'm needing is I don't mean it just like by myself, but I'm just
Yeah,
begging for the strength to be a sovereign being from within. And
yeah,
I know community is a part of that, but I need it for myself too.
yeah. So just acknowledging how long your this part of you has waited to be held by that sovereign being that is you, that capacity to develop your sense of self, to hold space for all that is you, all of the parts, to be able to welcome them just as they are without making them wrong, and acknowledging how you need community to just be warm and caring and hold space with you as you find your way.
Yeah. Yes.
What happens with that, Cass? Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to see that both need to exist because I spend a lot of time alone thinking that, which is why I decided I want to join the program, is because I don't have empathy partners. I don't have anybody doing empathy. I do empathy for other people. And
Mm-hmm.
I can do it pretty good, but I don't get it back. And I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So really needing replenishment, and yet at the same time acknowledging just maybe how scary it can be to receive, and that vulnerability. Maybe there's a part that just really has worked hard to be invulnerable.
When you say that, what goes on for me is there's just a shutdown numbness. Yeah,
Ah,
I don't have that
yeah.
masculine quality of being the invulnerable guy. I'm the sleepy, tired, shut down guy that wakes up to perform
Yeah.
to survive and then shuts down for some reason. And
For protection, perhaps.
yes, well, now we're kind of coming full circle back to, now that I've addressed that part in my more adult or part, when I think of that young child, um, I don't know what to say, but now I'm just drawn back to that point in time now. I'm drawn back to that
Yeah.
period. Now I think I feel clear enough to hold space to go into that
Oh,
child part,
okay.
and just
Mm.
and longing to be able to hold space for that child to not spend so much time in fear and
Yeah.
shutdownness.
Yeah. So just acknowledging how quickly that oscillation into shutdown, numbness, sleepiness, how quick that dorsal vagal just says, okay, this is not something we are able to survive, so we're just not going to feel it anymore. Needing
And,
safety.
and thank you for saying that, Gloria, because when you bring my attention to that nerve,
Mm-hmm.
for the first time, I'm realizing that or it's a deeper understanding of when I'm neurotic and I'm not, when I'm doing things I know that are harmful for me, like video games or overeating, there is no awareness of this. And as I'm trying to put myself in the child's shoes, that's exactly what happened. As I put myself in that situation where once I could start to write, the writing was a whole body experience.
Yeah.
Before that, I'm in terror, but it appears
Yes.
that I'm numb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just take a moment right now and just notice what's happening in your body as you just acknowledge that truth. That no wonder you were in terror. That dorsal vagal was doing the best it could to make sure you survived the unsurvivable. You're a little guy. You're 6 or 7 years old and you have not developed the capacity to self-soothe. And you've been put in isolation. It's so scary. Needing choice, needing warmth, and needing resonant attunement. You just
I'm
stuck
needing
there
guidance.
for hours. What's that?
I'm needing guidance.
Yeah. You're needing a surrogate prefrontal cortex to be right there with you to sync up with so you can make sense of this terror. It's
I
so
need,
scary.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
needing my goddamn father to accompany me.
Yeah, that need for accompaniment. Oh. Yeah, so just noticing what's happening in this little guy's body right here, right now.
This little guy is just alone. There's no support. There's no help. There's just do it, and
Yeah,
there's no masculine guidance to make this happen to help.
yeah. Oh, so just slowing down and noticing that he's so alone. What does he notice is happening in his body, in this environment there? He's all alone.
Well, the body's numb, And
Body
the mind is just looking for a way out.
Yeah. Just looking for any way out.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I can, I can't sit, I can't write this paper, I don't know what to say. I'm going to be embarrassed by whatever I do say.
Yeah, just really needing guidance, really needing some support that really gets you. I want to check in. Is your adult Rob here?
Yes.
So I'm just going to ask adult Rob, and if it's okay for me to accompany him, and we're just going to come into the room.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see little Rob. There he is. He can't even sit to write. He's in that room. Maybe he's pacing. He's just filled with terror and anxiety.
It's very painful to watch.
Yeah. And so as we're moving into that room, just slowly coming alongside of this little guy, just checking in with him. Does he see adult Rob?
He does, and I would just really like to sit with him on the bed and be with him.
Okay. So just walk us through that, just coming over, sitting on the bed. Are you inviting him over?
Yes.
And so does he know who you are?
Yes.
Oh, so just take your time, just sitting there right beside him.
Can I do a little dialogue?
Yes, please. Yeah, just follow the flow of the energy. Do you have a guess you'd like to make for little Rob?
As I'm watching you, I can see that you are in pain. And that this task seems insurmountable. Do I have that right?
What happens for little Rob?
He's still numb, but likes that I'm with him and have my arm around him.
Oh, yeah.
Not ready to talk yet. And I want to say, it's okay, you don't have to talk. Let's just sit here for a minute, because I want you to feel, I don't want you to feel alone in this, what you have to do. It is an important part of your growth to learn to be creative and to express yourself, but it's not always the easiest thing. Let's just set that aside for a minute. I want you and just feel my presence. I'm right here with you.
Yeah. Oh, and just really notice what happens in your body as you hold this little guy. What's happening in the adult Rob's body?
Just a rightness, an alignment. It just feels natural to be empathetic with this young boy.
Yeah. Oh, and so
It feels good.
yeah, as you notice where it feels good, that alignment with that rightness, that which is true. Where do you notice that emanating from your body?
Well, from the part I carry the most weight, I think. I mean, all this just feels open, and I just feel like, oh, I can be here. I just want to be here for this child.
Yeah. So is it from the belly area, the solar plexus area?
The belly.
Yeah.
The belly area feels relief and feels very light.
Yeah.
And I don't feel tired. I feel present and energetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so just holding space right here, right now, with your arm around this little Rob. Just really allowing him to tune into you, to sync up with your energy body, with that open torso, that belly and solar plex just opening, and just breathe into that and notice your breath. Notice that warmth, that rightness, that alignment.
Now I'm feeling more coaching coming for the little boy. Is that okay to proceed?
Oh, please do. Yes, follow that intuition. Mm. Mm.
Now it appears like you're feeling a little better. Is that correct?
What does he say? Oh, yeah.
Oh, nobody's ever talked to him this way.
Yeah. So just allowing him to speak. Just drop in, allow him to say what he needs to have heard.
That's what he doesn't want to speak, but I'm understanding that through him. And
Yeah. Wow.
so I'm so glad that you're feeling better. I'm wondering if you're ready to just think of the very first sentence that you might want to write. Just one sentence.
Mm.
And that I'm feeling a communion with him in that one sentence, like it's a doorway. It's like a opening.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
there's something important about not getting overwhelmed by the whole project, but just what is the first sentence? And it's feeling like it's um like there's a note that's like there's something I don't have words for it, but there's a
There's
an
a
agreement.
syncing up.
Yeah, there's a syncing up, there's an agreement, there's a rightness about that
There's a
like
company.
yes, that my brain needs to have that wiring,
Yeah. Yeah.
rewiring, and I'm feeling some kind of harmony, that it's not the task is overwhelming, it's just there's a way that there's no guidance about how to enter into it.
Yeah. So just really needing that felt sense of other that gets you at a cellular level to reflect that back so that you can find your way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And the other component besides just starting small is there is a power in the accompaniment, in the togetherness in it. That maybe I'm not dysfunctional because I can't do it alone.
Oh no. Oh, so just hearing how this little guy just really maybe took on a belief that was never his. Just really maybe needing a little reassurance that he really was created for relationship, and how much that supports him to be able to have relationships he can count on that really do get him and love him just as he is.
Mm-hmm.
That he makes sense.
Yeah, he likes those words very much, Gloria.
Oh.
And I just want to add to it that that not everybody, that there was nobody available that I felt that there was nobody available that you felt safe to talk to and to receive those things. And through your life, you are learning just how valuable that is and how valuable communion and connection is. And that's the silver lining for you, little guy.
Oh, wow. Oh, and what happens in this little guy's body as he receives that truth from this trusted other, this adult Rob.
He feels like he's receiving something real. Not just punishment, but some real advice and some real guidance. And yes, and it's all encompassed in warmth is the most important part, is that there's plenty of guidance that's not warm, and that makes a difference.
Yeah, it allows him to feel safe enough to actually be who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's in his body, there's a opening, there's a relaxing there from contraction, there's a there's a little playfulness, potential playfulness that feels like it could bubble up.
Yeah. Wow. So, it must be feeling pretty safe, because playfulness can only begin to be the springboard when it is safe. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have not accompanied this little guy in this way before, and it's really useful.
So I'm wondering if maybe you'd want to invite him to come home with you.
No, he would. I think we need to meet again, but his request is to stay in his journey and for me to come to him.
Okay. And what happens in your body as you receive this response?
I understand. I want you to have your life, and you coming with me feels like rescue or taking you away, and you have what it takes to live your life. You can do it. I need to be more attentive to you and more supportive of you. You don't need to come with me. I need to come to you.
So I'm hearing how he's making a clear request around wanting to be able to grow and develop into the wholeness that he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And as you say that, it resonates with me that's what has sustained me for 20 years of personal growth work, is that I don't give up, even though I get mad sometimes and feel despondent, but I'm tenacious with my personal growth.
Yeah, not giving up on self. Hanging in there to find a way to open your own sense of self to receive that warmth, that attuned resonance, that it's possible. Oh, yeah. So I'm wondering if the adult Rob has a request that he'd like to make of himself in relationship with the little Rob.
I think what I'd like the request to be is to set a time with my girlfriend, to set an appointment to go back and revisit. I have to set a specific appointment, because if I just say I'll go spend more time with him, I'm not gonna. I don't trust the adult self to have the discipline to do that, or that I have enough integration of this terror or pain to go back just on a whim. So I'm gonna write that down to later today, make an appointment to go to do that in a week or two.
Okay. So just really hearing how there's a couple different pieces there. There's a willingness, there's a desire, and yet really needing accompaniment in order to, needing that warm community to support that internal dialogue.
Yes.
And how vital that is.
Yes. And that is a step I really wouldn't be willing to make before, probably, because I'd give the stock answer of, I need to go and visit that young boy more often or something, and would never happen. I mean, I've been through it. I know how the self-deception works, but now I see that I think this is doable, because I just need I need help to I can't carry all the momentum by myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Really needing that resonant support to accompany you each step of the way to where it can unfold as it does.
I need the resonant support, and I need the masculine accountability and discipline also.
So I just want to acknowledge and honor the honesty here about really knowing yourself and taking it that next step of, I want this request, and I'm going to make this request for this because I really do value this little guy and want to honor his request. And so there's the different layers of those relationships. The adult Rob finds the courage to find the support so that he's empowered to continue to nurture the growth and development of his younger self.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's the motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hmm. So just notice where you are in your body right now.
It feels so nice to not have tired, heavy eyelids that are aching.
Oh, yeah.
I live that way most of the time, unless something happens where I have to go to work and survival kicks in, and then I can wake up. But it feels good to feel open here in my body. It feels good to feel light. It feels good to not be crabby.
Oh. Oh, I'm hearing how your ventral vagal is just like had a workout and is really there. And then especially like the skin, the cells around your eyes are going, relief. Oh, really feeling felt.
Yeah.
So again, just take your time and just allow yourself to commune with him again. And just to notice what it was like for adult Rob, but also for the little guy to receive this acknowledgement of what a contribution his honest expression and truth is in this community.
It's deeply satisfying for both of us. And there's almost like he's winking back at me at saying, good job at getting wiser and smarter and more competent. Almost like he's shifted character and he's like, he's there for me. I'm not there for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a real sweet nugget you just got.
Yeah. It's like there's like a, I don't know, it's like dual realities of he does need my accompaniment, but also there's a part of him that knows what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has gifts that he's bringing to the adult you as you continue to come back and visit with him. So there's a mutual responsiveness that you get to deepen into.
Thank you.
Yeah.